Hey guys, it's Ann. Today we're going into Karen Boulet's kitchen and dining room area. It is so cool to see what Karen and Rich have done in there. So stay tuned.
This actually used to be the dining room. When I first bought the house, I set the dining room up here, I had the dining room table here, and it worked, but I never liked it.
Okay.
I always felt cramped sitting down here, having even a regular meal, let alone a holiday meal. So one night after my husband retired, it was 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and he said, "You want to move some furniture?" And I thought, well, this is out of the ordinary, but I'm going for this. So I said, yes. So I jumped up off the sofa, and I said, "What are you going to do?" And he said, "We're going to put the dining room where I had what I called the keeping room." And I thought, okay, that might work. So we moved all the dining room furniture out, set it up in the keeping room. He set all the furniture out. We did this till 12:01 in the morning, and I absolutely loved it. The flow was better. I felt more comfortable. And that was probably, we did that 11, 12 years ago.
Wow.
So since then, I keep changing this room around with different furniture and different placement, but I do that all the time anyway.
Okay.
I'm like the Energizer Bunny, and I'm like the yo-yo all over the place, but I enjoy doing it. It gives it a whole different look from one season to the next, and it's with things I already had in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to go out and spend a fortune. Just take things you have, take something that's maybe in your bedroom, move it downstairs into your dining room. You'd be amazed at how many things can go in all rooms, and you're so zoned into seeing it in one particular room. Sometimes you don't even realize how it could go elsewhere. And that's what happens in this room. I just keep changing things out. This piece in the corner, when I first bought the house, there was a tannery the next town over, and it was from the early 1800s, and it was going to be demolished, and you were able to go in and take anything out of it that you wanted. So this was taken out of it, as well as the dry sink in the corner of the sitting room we were just in, brought back here numbered, and they both fit in like they came with the house.
Wow.
Maybe because both homes were in the 1800s, maybe it was just meant to be, but they just look like they were built here when the house was built.
Wow.
So it's worked out beautifully. This piece that's on the wall is another piece that came from the tannery. That is the original color. I haven't touched any of the color on this piece. You'll see there's no backing on it. When they made pieces in the olden days, because they didn't have a lot of wood and things to work with, again, they made do. They didn't find a need if it was going on a wall. Why bother to waste the wood and put it back on it? I could use that wood for something else. And that's exactly why you see a lot of your early pieces don't have a backing on them.
Oh.
And that's one. And this piece I love. I love the color. So I didn't want to touch it, but it came from the same tannery.
Huh.
It was one town over that these two large pieces came from.
Wow. Wow. Tell me about that chandelier.
Well, when I first bought the home, I've been friends with a tinsmith that was in Sturbridge, Massachusetts for years. And he gave me some of the tin lighting as a housewarming gift.
Ah.
That every room in this home except the sitting room has got a handmade light that either were lights that he gave me or lights that I purchased for the rooms, but every room has a handmade chandelier or lighting of some sort in it. Because I felt it just goes with the house. But these were even more special because they were handmade from a close friend.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what kind of table is that?
This is an old dough box. This is roughly around 1840. The top of it's all original red color. It's got the old worn patina on it. It lifts off. A lot of these would have been used in the kitchen, in the buttery, if the butteries were bigger rooms, or in the keeping room where they would be making the dough and the bread. Roll everything out on this, so you have a lot more wear on the top of this because it was used actually as a work surface. Nowadays, a lot of people like them actually as a table, but they love the fact that they can lift the top and they've got some storage in there. So many people, especially now if they're downsizing, they've gone from a big home to something smaller, but they still want to take some of their favorite primitive pieces, but they need storage. And they'll take storage no matter how they can get it.
Right.
And they utilize all these things.
Right.
So this is a great way to have a small table. If it's just a husband and wife and you're retired, you've downsized. It's a perfect table, whether you're just having a cup of coffee or whether you're having dinner.
Right.
And then you've got storage in here regardless of what you want to put inside there. There's quite a bit of storage in that.
That's so wonderful. And behind it, it looks like some kind of rope bed.
That's a rope bed. That, another piece that I bought years ago from the Seraph when they were in Sturbridge. And it's just one of the old, very primitive rope beds. A lot of roping was done in lieu of a mattress. The roping was put on furniture, it was put on beds, and then mattresses were handmade and hand stuffed to put on top of it. And this has the same principle. This just has a very light piece with the stuffing on it, but it's got the roping all underneath of it.
Yep. Wow.
And actually it's a very comfortable piece to sit on. And this is a room that I end up just gravitating to just to sit and read magazines. Of course, also too, because the lighting is better here than it is in the next room.
You can see.
Primitive lighting is great. I tell so many people that it's wonderful, but you can't see anything by it. But we all love it anyway. Us Prim gals don't care whether we can see. As long as it looks primitive, we're good with it.
We're vampires.
Absolutely.
We are vampires.
Absolutely.
And I'm noticing you have a lot of redware in here, huh?
Yeah, I love the redware. I've been collecting it for years. Some of it was gifts. My husband would give me 1 or 2 pieces each year as part of my Christmas presents or his birthday presents. Girlfriends have bought me pieces. It's just a look that I've always loved. A lot of those pieces I actually use. The small pieces I use to put cookies on. If we're having friends over and I want to put cookies out, there's pieces I use for chip and dips. So I use a lot of the pieces. They don't just sit there because I like to incorporate them.
Okay.
There's nights that it's just been my husband and myself and we're having tea and cookies and I'll grab one of those and I'll throw the cookies on and bring it in.
Wow.
And he'll laugh and he just laughs. And I says, yeah, I know. But those are they're all handmade pieces. A lot of them actually have come from potters at Sturbridge Village.
Okay. Wow. Wow. And what about, you have a lot of really old wooden things, bowls.
Yes, I love wood pieces. I absolutely love them. And this was an old piece that would have been used by a shoemaker.
Okay.
And he would have a bench. And there are still, to this day, a lot of the shoemakers' benches out there that people use for tables because they're all big and intact. These pieces sometimes sat on the end, and his tools would be in there, or the piece that I have the bowls in, he would sit at that end of it, and he would use that to do the hammering work on the shoe, or the work he was doing on the leather, putting the shoe together. So there's a lot of different ones that have been out there for years, and sometimes they end up actually getting broken off or dislodged from a larger piece that was on, but even if you found that, it still makes a great piece. And when you get pieces, look at it from the perspective, it would make a great centerpiece. Yes, I could put it on my island, but walk around your house and hold it up and say, oh, I put a couple hooks on the back, I can put this on the wall. It's amazing the number of things that you wouldn't think would be a typical wall hanging that you can put on the wall with a couple of hooks. And that's a prime example right there.
Wow. You know, yep, everything is a prime example. This is, what kind of thing is this?
That's a reproduction piece.
Okay.
The gentleman that made it said that they were pipe or candle boxes.
Oh yeah.
I find they can be used for candles. I've used them for pipes. I've put greens in them some years at the holidays. I have put drieds in them. It looks awesome in the fall with bittersweet.
Wow.
Again, a lot of these things, you can decorate them very simple.
Yep.
Or you can add an ornament to them and they will still look good. It all ends up your taste. And don't be afraid to play with it and move things around, because all of a sudden you're going to come up with something that you absolutely love that you didn't even know you were going to get to that point.
All right, I have to ask you about these things. And what on earth are these in this as this bowl filler? What are those?
Some of them are dried lemons. Some are just other nuts, which I don't even know what they are. I just like to mix the drieds, just because it gives it a different look.
Yeah.
And then I just kept a little bit of the dried straw that I had in it, The luminaire candles I absolutely love, regardless of whether they're the battery or the electric ones. They're just gorgeous. And then for the holidays, I just tucked some greens around it.
It's just gorgeous. You tucked greens around pretty much everything here.
Well, I love the effect with the greens, but when I do my decorating, from one season to the next, I don't know what it's going to look like until I'm done.
Okay.
I don't have a game plan. I don't take pictures from year to year to remind me what I did. I just go up into the attic and I go through a lot of my things, and it's almost like, as crazy as it sounds, they'll say, nah, you don't want that this year. Or something else will jump out and say, yes, put that out this year. And I'm sure the girls are going to say, yeah, I go through the same thing, but I don't want to tell anybody. You know? But they almost talk to you. So I just pull things up and I'll put them in baskets, bring them downstairs, and I just walk around, and it's just whatever I want from year to year, it's always different. The inside and the outside decorating.
Yeah.
Never looks the same 2 years in a row.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So you have a buttery.
I have
we
a
need
buttery.
to see the buttery,
Okay.
and I know that people would like to hear about the buttery.
This is the buttery. For years, this is something we all have, a junk closet. Well, that's what this was. If I didn't know what to do with it, or it didn't have a place somewhere else, I opened the door and I threw it in. And I'm sure it got to the point that I couldn't open the door too much because it was going to come back out this way. So I kept thinking, I've got to do something with this. So I was talking to a friend of mine, Chris and Paul Kasushi, who own Walker Homestead, who are dear friends. And she was telling me that, why don't you build it into a buttery? And I said, a buttery? And I thought, like a lot of other gals and guys do, buttery, you need an entire room.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't.
No.
This is the prime example. Paul came over and he did this for me. This is all old wood that he got, that he put on the back part of the stairway. This is all old wood. The entire thing is done with old wood, the cup, the shelving, everything. And I just decorated the way I wanted it. And I absolutely love it. It finishes off this end of the room. I never liked walking by here because there was always this closed door. I'm one that doesn't like a closed door because I don't think it gives people the warm, welcoming feeling you want. Mm-hmm. In my shop next door, when you walk upstairs, you take a right, you walk into the tavern room and bedroom, which is part of the shop on the second floor. If you look to the left, you'll see my office and sitting room, and there's a sign across it that's done with rug hooking and it says private. Well, that's done because I don't want that door closed. Mm-hmm. I did it for a while, and it was a very short while, and I didn't like the feeling myself. I was getting the same feeling in my own house just walking by here, even though I knew it was just a junk closet.
Right.
This, I absolutely love. And this too, I change it differently. I put different things in here. I like the battery candles in there because it does light it up, because it doesn't have any outlets to do any of the electric lights in there. Mm-hmm. But there's so many beautiful battery candles on the market today that this serves a purpose for what I wanted. And it also shows people you don't need a whole room.
Right.
You can still have a buttery and still achieve that same effect. A lot less money, a lot less space, and be just as happy with it. Mm-hmm. You take the door off, you paint it, and you build in a couple of cupboards. Mm-hmm. And
wonderful.
Decorate it the way you want.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
So cool.
I love it.
All right, should we go to the kitchen?
Sure. This is the kitchen. It's always been the kitchen, will always remain the kitchen. My husband built all the cabinets. He built in the doors here for my pantry. My best friend Lynn came over, did all the aging for me. The aging is done with Briwax. She said that the key, she said, in aging with Briwax is an extremely light touch. Mm. You just take a cotton cloth, you don't go like this and really put it on heavy. And she wasn't kidding with the cloth because she didn't get a chance to finish one area one day, and I was going to finish it for her. And I went to do it, and I didn't like the way it looked. And I thought, she said light touch. And then I watched her when she came over the next day to finish it, and you just barely touch it like this with that cloth. It just barely, but you just go over and you make it heavier in spots where you keep taking a handle or keep touching the door. So that's how these got aged. And this is pumpkin color through Benjamin Moore Historic Line, which is a color I love so much. This and ochre I will probably have in my homes forever because I just love the colors. But their pumpkin color, I have them add a little bit of black to it. It was a trick I learned from Alex at the Seraph. Add a little bit of black to it and it darkens it and ages it and it gives it an older look.
Wow.
So I just experimented with them, had them add a little bit of black to it, which you could do with any of your paint colors.
Sure.
I'm sure it would probably work just as well.
Sure.
And then I've used it here. And then my husband and a gentleman that used to make furniture for us for the bedroom, they made all of the countertops for me, which I wanted the wood countertops. And I absolutely love them. And the more they get worn, the older they get, the better they look.
How did you treat the wood on the countertops?
Actually, after he stained it, he put a wax on it.
Okay.
And then we've just let it wear over the years. I was telling him the other day that over the winter we will have to restain it again. But it was probably 12, 14 years ago that he did it. Nothing's been done to it since then.
Wow.
So they put the proper wax on that would keep all water out. When they bought the new sink to put in at that time, because this was all sealed, so you didn't have any issues with water there. And even the black sink and the black appliances just blends in very well with the primitive look. It's one of the colors I like best in a kitchen if you're going to stick with the primitive.
Yeah.
It just works.
Yeah. So all your decorating, it's so much wood, bowls and dough bowls and like what all are you gathering here to give this look? I mean, it's so wonderful.
I've been collecting for years.
Okay.
I tell people when I'm consulting with them, do not feel you have to pay full price for anything, just keep looking.
Okay.
And I brought 2 children up the same way, and they're still like that, as is their mother. But a lot of it has been collecting over the years. Changing out some of my taste because for years my home was very early American, which is what my parents' home was, which I loved. But then when I bought this house, I really knew I wanted to go very primitive. And I've just been collecting a lot of the pieces, seeing things in magazines, seeing things at different antique stores. And with the decorating, I was brought up in a home where it's not Christmas unless it's gingerbread men.
Oh.
And I am an avid gingerbread man collector. And I've loved them forever. I've always decorated my kitchen and my dining room with gingerbread men. My grandmother used to make the homemade gingerbread cookies for us as kids. And a lot of the gals that come into my shop are also gingerbread collectors. And we all joke, well, what are you going to get next year for gingerbread man that's different? And I end up finding them. There are creative people out there. And so there is not a year that goes by that you won't see gingerbread men in my kitchen and my dining room. They'll all be decorated and set up differently, but they will be pretty much in these 2 rooms because I just love the look.
I do too.
Again, they're all handmade. Everything, all the accessories are all handmade in this country. Many of the things that I get, not only for myself, but to sell in my shop too, everything is handmade in this country, but it's mom and pop. It's a retired couple. It's a single mom that's supporting her children, and that's the people that I work with that I've met through the years. That you're helping them, they're helping you. You don't call them, they don't ask you what your customer ID number is, and not that that's a bad thing, because there are vendors that I do have to work with, having a business that I have to give them that, but I like the more simple, how are you doing, how you feeling kind of a touch, how are the kids?
Yeah.
And that's what I get with all my homemade things. Plus, we were brought up in a home, we have 4 children in our family. We were all taught at a very early age to either make things, be creative, be handy, whatever handy was. Both of our parents were very talented and very creative, and all 4 of us kids learned to make and do all kinds of things, whether it's clothing, whether it's things for our home, whether it's to be able to do things to repair around the home. So a lot of it was all upbringing too, and I just grew to love the handmade items. And to get this primitive look, it's the only way you're going to be able to achieve it, is to have it handmade, hand-designed, and just from different people in different parts of the country, that it's a different eye looking at it. different tastes, different designs in their state than what you might see in New England, but yet it's very primitive. So it gives it a different look and a different take, but you find they can all blend. I've done a lot of layering in this room. One reason is because I have so much. And I thought, well, if I want to get one more thing in, I've got to layer it or stack it somewhere. So my daughter is cringing now when she sees this video. She's going to say, yes, Mom, you have way too much. And my son's going to be agreeing with her, but that's okay. So I do a lot of layering. I do a lot of stacking, but just trial and error, and mix it and match it. And because I love so much of the old wood things as well as reproduction wood things, the different coloring in the wood is beautiful and blends together, and it gives it a different look.
Yeah.
And I think myself, the first year I had this house, and even though I was been an early American home my whole life, which I loved, and my own home was like that for years, when I went to decorate a Christmas in a primitive house with different colorings and different paints and different woods, I loved it even more.
Yeah.
It was more old-fashioned, and then each year, as I did each room, because this home was in move-in condition, just not my taste.
Okay.
So I was able to do a room at a time at my pace, which was nice. Not everyone has that luxury
Right.
when they buy an old home. I was very fortunate with this. But I have noticed with the primitive designs and the primitive tastes, especially, I love it year-round, but especially at Christmas.
There's something about, well, just the hues of the wood, and then you put the little oranges in it with the cloves in it. That just pops. And then all the little greens. It just looks so natural.
Thank you.
And magical.
I'm very careful on what greens I buy for myself. I really want them to look real.
Okay.
There were years I did all real greens.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it the past 2 years because of COVID, but prior to that, I used to have a candlelight house tour every year
Right.
As part of the shop.
Right.
So people would walk through the main living quarters here, then they could walk next door to the shop. And for the first couple of years, I was decorating with real greens.
Yeah.
But the candlelight house tour is always Thanksgiving weekend, so the greens had to come down before Christmas so my house wouldn't burn down.
Right.
So I said, all right, we're not going to do this anymore. And the brown color, even though it was primitive, just wasn't attractive.
Yeah.
Wasn't working for me, so I said, okay. And there's so many beautiful greens on the market.
Yeah.
If you just take the time and find them, there's so many stores you can go into to get them. And I think that's the key too. You don't have to get tons.
Yeah.
Sometimes just very sparse. With everyone, just don't think if you're switching to primitive, you've got to spend a fortune and do it all at once. Go very slow. And Christmas time, you just put one green in a wooden bucket. It can look beautiful.
Yeah.
As opposed to thinking you need 8 of them in there.
Right.
Just start slow and work your way up.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done over the years with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I just keep adding and adding.
So here we are. Where are we? In the dining room.
Yes, we are. This is the room that my husband decided many years ago to move, and I absolutely love it. I keep changing out, moving chairs around in here. This piece in the corner is a coin shucker that my brother and sister-in-law gave me. They had a beautiful old home for years in Durham, Connecticut that they recently sold. And they had this in their barn and they never used it. And he knew somebody that would love it. So they gifted that to me a number of years ago. And actually to this day, of all the pieces I have, that's probably one of my most treasured pieces that I have, except for a couple of pieces that I had from my mother and my grandmother. So that's a pretty special piece. This other cupboard that you see over here, that came from the same tannery, one town over, where I got the larger pieces from my home. Original patina, original color, I never touched it. I just love the looks of the piece. It's not overbearing in size, so it could go in a lot of rooms if I want to move it around. But I use it to keep all of my recipe books in. And I keep a lot of linens folded in there. But again, it's a multi-purpose. The piece that's over it is a piece that my husband made for me many years ago. And we weren't sure how we wanted to finish it, so we gave it to my best friend who does a lot of finishing work of products for me for the shop, and she finished it, and I love the piece, and I like to keep the redware in it. I like the redware in the dining room setting, and I just do this for a centerpiece. I'm forever changing out my centerpieces. This year it's this because I got this piece this year. Other years, I have a very massive wooden canted box that is now on the floor in my kitchen that has bowls in it, but that worked as my centerpiece. So that's what a lot of it is in here. I decided to put the upholstered chair in because I thought that just softened the look. And it's very comfortable sitting there eating. I feel like I'm in an old tavern or an old inn when I'm just having my breakfast or my cup of tea or my full dinner. And we actually had all this set up. We had friends come for Thanksgiving, and it works beautifully.
Wow.
The barrel that's here in the corner is a barrel that my son gave me many years ago. I love that piece. I love the size of it because I can do so much with it, whether it's in the house or outside of the house. And then just different pieces, different buckets, different bowls, trenches. I just walk around and I decide where I want them to look. It's not unlike it for me to change 6, 7 times before I finally get it where I want, and then 3 months later go back and change it again. But I think that's probably one of the many good things of being retired. I now realize that I'm enjoying my house rather than passing through. I always thought I enjoyed it all the years I was working, but I now realize that I'm really enjoying it. So it's like a domino effect. I'll change everything around and tweak everything, and my Christmas decorating, I can be tweaking up to Christmas Eve.
So what do you say to people? I have people say these things to me like, oh, I really liked it this way. Oh, I don't like it as much this way. I liked it better this way. And I always say to them, it's not like a contest about which is the better way it looks.
Absolutely not. It's your home.
Right.
It's your preference. It's your taste and what makes you feel good. I've gone into homes and I've done consulting with everything from old homes to new homes and everything in between. My daughter has gone out when she was still living in New England doing design consulting with me, and she's phenomenal at it. But I tell everyone, you use things and you put things that are in your home.
Yes.
Mix and match the things.
Yep.
You know, and just make it your home.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you want to go back to your home where you're comfortable and when you're relaxed.
Yeah. And
Others don't have to like it.
Right. And what relaxes you today might not be what relaxes you tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. My change has changed so much through the years, even though I started with early American. Even through those phases, I changed a lot.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot with the Primitive from the time I bought the house till now.
Yeah.
It's just, it keeps evolving. I will sell things to bring something else in. Because it's the only way I can sneak something in anymore.
Right.
But that's okay because my take is I've enjoyed it for X number of years.
Yeah.
Now someone else can enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have a problem either gifting it to someone if that's what I want to do, or putting it in the shop and someone else comes in and enjoys it.
Right.
Because I have something else in its place that I can enjoy now for 5 years, 10, however long I want to enjoy it.
Right.
So don't think that you have to keep it the way it is forever.
Yeah.
And just walk through your home and take things that you have in different rooms, walk them downstairs, and realize that just because you had it upstairs in an office or in a bedroom doesn't mean that's where it has to stay.
Right.
Might look even better in your living room or your dining room.
That's right. That's
Just move
right.
the things around and you're saving yourself a lot of money,
Yep.
and then just build up gradually
That's true. That's
for
true.
what you want.
That's
Don't
true.
get yourself stressed and think that you have to go do it all at once, because you're going to make mistakes that way. You're not
Right.
going to be happy with it.
Right.
Just get it as you go along.
Yep.
And it'll work out very well for you.
So true.
Even the laundry room has to be primitive in my house.
Do
Has to-
show.
Are you surprised?
No.
It must be. So we're going to now walk into the laundry room, and I'll show you the primitive part, and then I'll show you what was my dream, which I'm not sure if it will or will get to a dream, but we'll see.
Okay.
This is the laundry room. Now, when I bought this home, behind these antique barn doors, there is, if I open those doors, a avocado green shower and bathtub.
Really?
Yes, avocado green. And my first thought was, okay, Karen, you've got an old home. Do not rip out the plumbing, because if something happens to the plumbing upstairs, what are you going to do? So I put the doors up. And they have been there ever since for the same reasons. I don't dare mess with plumbing.
Oh my goodness.
So I open this clean the tub out, clean it out. I did it again when we had new flooring put down in here. And then I decorate all this with early primitive pieces that are in here. Eventually, and I'm not sure if I'll do it or not because I'm getting old, I want to encase these. But in order to encase them, I would have to get both pieces that either open this way or lift up from the top to make it easier to build around them.
I see.
It can be done,
Yeah.
but it's a little easier.
Yeah.
But I've grown to like it this way. It may just stay this way.
Okay.
Because years down the line, and I downsize, no one else is going to want to come in here maybe and care that those cupboards are there. They're going to pull them out because they don't know what they do.
That's true.
There's no purpose.
Yeah, no.
So I leave it this way, but
Yeah.
I still have to put the touches for the holidays and the seasons in here. I end up putting touches in every room in the house.
Wow.
The bedroom has a tree in it in the window, and I have little stockings, and there's touches everywhere. But the bulk of it I like to put downstairs because that's where we are all the time.
Right.
And we can enjoy it all down here.
Right.
But it just goes through the whole home.
And this is the sink, I take it.
That's
Do you
the
usually
sink.
have that off the sink so you can use it, or is this something you don't even use in much?
We usually don't because it's just my husband and I, so we can go out into the kitchen sink, wash our hands, do what we have to do until I have company.
Okay.
And then they come out and they're saying, "I'd like to wash my hands." Oh, I'm so sorry. So I take them to the kitchen sink. Well, now, so many of my friends have been here so often, they just know. And then once in a while, they'll still make a joke about it, but I go into their house and it's the same principle right here in their house too. So just take a walk out to the kitchen and you're good.
I love it. I love it.
It works.
Wow. Oh, that is so neat.
And these are pieces actually that my husband makes. These are switch plate covers. Light switch covers,
how cool.
He makes singles and doubles.
Oh.
And the gals love them. They go on with heavy-duty double-sided sticky tape.
Okay.
These have been on for God knows how many years.
Yeah.
Never have come off.
Yeah.
But it just covers it a little bit.
I love it.
He makes that. And he makes wood thermostat covers, which the gals really like too. So
I love it.
Something different, and it doesn't look out of place.
Right. Right.
And the lights again came from my tinsmith friend who used to be in Sturbridge for years.
Okay.
The handmade lights.
Wow.
And the handmade ones are all through, as I said, are all throughout the house except the one portion of my sitting room. Every other room has a chandelier and or handmade wall sconces.
That's amazing. Karen, I cannot thank you enough for this tour. It was amazing.
You're very welcome, and the pleasure was mine. And thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you enjoyed your walk. I hope you get some decorating ideas, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you.
Merry Christmas to you too. Well, I hope you enjoyed the series. I know I did, and I learned a lot, and I'm going to be doing a little more gritty Prim in my house, I think.